There we go. I think I'm in. Now it's saying it's no. Setting up your meeting for Facebook Live, and it's sort of going through it. Redirecting, done. You're invited for a new Facebook design. Should I try that? Hell no, not now.
Not a good time.
No. So do I just go with the live like I normally do?
Yeah, I think so. It should take you there.
I think we're live. We've been live.
All right.
I can't believe it. I can't look at myself really because I'm a little delayed on the Facebook Live. Folks, are you here? I hope you are, because we are. We're on Zoom. I'm with John Medkeff, Delaware beer historian, and we're going to talk about some bottle versus can, some Delaware happenings with the beer world. Welcome, John.
Hello. How are you, Bottle?
I'm, as bottle as I can be. I'm very, very upset with the can because he's not talking and he's making the whipping bottle do all his dirty work. And, so what I'm going to do is do a little quick rundown of bottles behaving badly. And John and I have gotten to know each other a little bit through Beer Can: A Love Story, the movie. And he's a guest star in it. And he talks about the history of the bottle and the can. And we'll talk a little more about that because once we get back on the road with this, we're going to be showing the movie. And John's got a lot of things he does here, and he's really trying to help out the local beer companies with some beer sales and how people can get access to that and some virtual stuff. And he'll be talking about that too. But first, we want to go into the segment for the people that are new and don't know what bottle versus can, what this is all about. It's about a lot of anger. That's what I'll tell you right now. It's about the bottle has, since the 15th century, I've been the king basically of the vessels for beer. The can came along in 35, shook things up, and really has been a thorn in my side ever since. And I've just about had it now with the craft brewers because the millennials want cans. That's all they want. Go figure. Carol Stout, first female brewer since Prohibition in the movie. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But, are you a bottle or are you a can? Not what you like to drink out of. That's not as important, although I prefer the bottle and prefer to be for everybody to drink out of the bottle. And the craft brewers just stop it with this production, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going to embrace this, and we're going to talk about bottles behaving badly. The can sends me messages sort of every day. He's giving me a migraine most of the time because we're vessel to vessel, we're fluid like that. And we send these messages, and he says to me, look, you got to talk to the people about these bottles behaving badly. Now, if you don't know what the bottle's characteristics, here's the characteristics. And John knows about this because he's been hearing through this movie process that the bottles are loud, obnoxious, full of themselves. They want to take advantage of people, and they don't care about no one but themselves. That's a bottle. Now, I'm not that kind of bottle. I find I'm in the middle, but these others bottles behaving badly are making me look bad, and that's who's the most important is me. Now, some of the bottles out there, we'll talk about these bottles behaving badly. Now, a can is sort of like very low key. They're about the environment. They help turtles across the road, old ladies across the road. That's what cans do. They're the people that are helping out with this pandemic, and they're the worker bees of the world. They're the cans of the people. Now, I'm a bottle of the people. I think that I'm a good people person, but unfortunately, that's not what the can thinks. So he says, bottles behaving badly. Let's get to it, and then we're going to get to John, our guest. We don't want to hold you up tonight, John. I know you got lots of things to do. Not like you're out and about or anything, but I don't know what you're doing, John. But
I'm bottled up, of course.
You're all bottled up. See?
Bottled up.
See? Whenever it's bad, they use bottle references. You're all bottled up. I'd like to cut you off right now, John, if I could, but I don't want to be rude after that comment. But yes, let's get to.
Kick me in the can.
Yes, let's get to these bottles behaving badly. These 3 Target shoppers in North Carolina went in and they basically I had a 1 hour stroll, they called it, for snacks and sunglass browsing, to live their best lives, they said. So they basically ignored everything, went in there for an hour, started posting selfies, these bottles, these vapid bottles, as the can says. Now, don't shoot the messenger here. I don't believe in everything that the can says. I'm just sending the message here. And so these three women went in and they were saying they were pretending to have life as normal while sending these selfies out, while other people are, basically suffering through lots of things. So the bottle has to agree with the can on this one. Listen, folks, pretending life is normal, this isn't pretend, it's for real. That's all I'll say to the people in North Carolina, these three women, that hopefully this is just a poor decision. You're young. Hey, I'm 15th century. I remember 16th century. I was running around I went through many, many pandemics, plagues, stuff like that. Hey, I get it. Just don't do it again. Okay, that's bottle behaving badly. There you see an example. Prince Harry and his wife. Now, his wife was a bottle behaving badly last week when she said she will only now work with A-list directors. She's such a hot actress, I'll tell you. And so she basically demanded that she was going to do that. I don't know what that is, but they're not going to have Archie's first birthday party. Well, you can have some kind of party. Does it have to be a big royal thing, even though you've disconnected from the royal family and this was your first day that you were supposed to? I don't know. It's confusing to me because I'm an orphan. I was born in a sewer. You find me in parks and sewers and basements and crawl spaces. That's where you find bottles. Okay, I know nothing about the royal family. Okay, but apparently they're not having Archie's party. Sorry. Okay, the last bottle behaving badly is Black China. Now, Black China is an ex-Kardashian fiance, has a child with Robert or whatever, and she's been out flapping about. Now, she was seen with no mask on, with her entourage. She's demanded to be quarantined with them so she can get her makeup done every day. It's just insane, but that's a bottle behaving badly, okay? We're gonna get to that. That's our segment for that. We're gonna get right to our special guest, John. John, tell us about, Beer Can of Love story when you were approached on this and how this all unfolded and what you took away from it when you were asked to sort of tell from start to finish a lot of the facts about bottle versus can.
Well, what was really interesting is I didn't have any detail to really go from. You and Can kind of kept it in the can, so to speak, and kept it quiet. And I did my part. You asked me questions, I responded. We kind of traveled linearly through time from the beginning right through the post World War II era, talking about prepackaged products and how that fit in with beer history. And then, of course, you worked your magic, and I saw it on the screen, and it was an impressive feat.
Well, thank you. I'd like to take credit for all of it. I wanted to get top billing and call it, Bottle Land or something, but
yeah, what happened there?
Yeah, that Beer Can of Love story.
What happened there?
Top billing. What's that?
What happened there?
I don't know. This is what's happening to me. Everybody's just against the bottle suddenly. So talk about craft brewers and how that sort of now has become like this can thing. I know it's portability and stuff like that. I'm very easygoing though. I don't know why they can't carry me on the beach, but go ahead. What do you think is really?
Yeah, it was a slow process. It was not something that I think was adopted very quickly. There was an association with cans as being substandard. Typically, the packaged product in cans heretofore was not very good product, and you typically associated it with light beers and the mass-produced beers that were out on the market and soda, and it was not really seen as something that was appropriate for specialty brews, particularly in the 1990s, and then slowly but surely. I think you saw the transformation from moving from bottles into cans along about half a dozen years ago, and locally that's probably even been a more recent occurrence with some of the local breweries, and even a larger brewer like Dogfish had finally embraced
Yeah.
And I know
I mean,
something.
Sam went kicking and screaming. I used to like Sam until he did that. I mean, then he pulled a fast one on me, and then I had to call him up and his wife and say, "Hey, what's up with that?" And he just said, "Look, man, it was a business decision, nothing personal."
Yeah.
So,
It's about weight. It's about, of course, portability, cost, and you have a vessel now that can hold a product and maintain it so that there's no degradation. And so they came around, and you go into a package store now, and you see a good percentage of the product is canned.
well, let me tell you, I disagree with everything you just said. I'm sorry, John, my first guest, and I got to get into a battle with him already. But look, that's the politically correct thing to say, that, hey, the can is really doing great things. But what do you prefer, a can or a bottle?
I honestly
Don't say glass in a draft like it. Don't go in the middle with this.
Well, you knew where I was going, but I really don't have a preference. I think it depends on the beer. Typically, if it's a barrel aged beer or something like that, you're not going to want to necessarily go for a canned beer. It just seems more appropriate, doesn't it, in a bottle? And it's something that you would age maybe in a different way than an IPA or a lager, like a Pilsner or a Marzen or something like that, which might seem more appropriate for a can. So for me, it depends. It depends on what the beer is.
Gotcha. I think beer's delicious in me, always, all beers, but that's your opinion, John, and I respect you for that. You are the beer historian for Delaware. Now, with Delaware, though, what's going on now? What's going on? What's with this whole thing happening with just sales? And talk to people about what they can do. And these guys got to really have to remodel what they're doing.
Yeah, well, of course, a majority of sales for most of the brewers in Delaware, most of the 31 breweries that are out there now, and I'm going to throw in as well our cideries, meaderies, and wineries and distilleries. A lot of the sales come out of their tap room, and of course, with tap rooms closed, that really cuts into the bottom line. So, what can consumers do? You can still go to most of the tap rooms. Many of them are open. In the case of brew pubs, they may even have takeout food, and you can purchase locally. And I'd highly recommend that whenever and wherever you can, do so safely, but do so frequently, because they really need a lifeline, and they really need our help. One thing that could really help, it was great when Governor Carper, goodness, I'm zooming.
Where you been,
I mean,
John?
way back. You got all these C's. You got Coons, Carney, Carper. When Governor Carney opened up their ability to sell from the tap rooms, that was great. But one thing that would really help is to allow them, at least temporarily, to self-distribute. That would allow them to get the product out their door much quicker and make it safer for the consumer to not have
the middleman, the carrying, the distributors are out.
Right. And at least temporarily to make it easier and safer for the consumer.
Sure. So are most Delaware breweries of these 31, are they mostly taking that model right now, or are some really hurting to the point where they don't have the capabilities to do that? Or what's the flavor out there?
Well, no, I think mostly, they're depending largely exclusively now on their tap room prepackaged sales or with growlers or crowlers. And it's very difficult, obviously. They are depending on people coming to them to make sales, and whatever gets out to the distributors to get out to the retailers. But it's very difficult. Obviously, when you cut out when you employ social distancing and you cut out a large portion of interactions in the tap rooms, obviously that's going to hurt their bottom line. So if we can loosen up some of the restrictions and help them in any way, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, and so right now, would you say that the best thing for people to do is if they can order online, and are they delivering? Is anybody delivering?
No, no, they're not delivering. you
I
can.
know
do
in
it now.
Pennsylvania they're doing some, the
Yeah,
bottles.
right. And other states are allowing it. It would be really helpful if we were able to do that in Delaware as well.
Mhm. Okay, talk about the Restore the King, King Gambrinus.
Oh, yeah.
I know things have taken a little bit of a backseat, but tell people what that's about.
Yes, as with everything. Well, we are restoring a statue of King Gambrinus. It's I like to say that it's the single most significant artifact remaining in Delaware's brewing history. And it is an 11-foot, 1-ton zinc statue that is 138 years old, and it once hung on the Diamond State Brewery in Wilmington. And it was on the brewery from 1882 until 1962, when the brewery was taken down to make way for I-95 through the city of Wilmington. The statue spent a short time, 10 years, at a restaurant in suburban Wilmington at what was called the King's Inn on Naaman's Road. It's now Harry's Savoy Grill. And after that went into private storage. It was dropped in 1978, and it was broken into about 60 some odd pieces. I recovered the pieces in 2014 and set about forming a nonprofit organization so that we could collect the money to put the pieces back together and donate the statue to a museum. And I've been partnering with the Delaware Historical Society, who's been very good to me over the years. And they're interested in taking in the restored statue and putting it in their Delaware History Museum, which coincidentally is 9 blocks to the spot from where the statue once stood at 5th and Adams Streets. So once we get this restored, the statue will be donated to the Delaware History Museum, and it'll be on permanent public display. And they have the means, obviously, to maintain the statue over the long term. And, I really see it as a symbol for the revival. You're taking all these disparate parts, all these parts, and putting it all back together. And that's basically what the craft beer industry did in the 1990s. It put together an industry that was gone and basically forgotten in Delaware, and what was at one time an important economic, social, and cultural driver. And the revival of this statue is really a symbol for the revival of the brewing industry. So in Delaware, so that's the in a nutshell, that's what we're trying to do. The cost is going to be about $100,000 to restore it. We've raised about 20% of that goal. And our next step is to, our statue is one of 5 known that exist. We're going to do a 3D laser scan of one of the existing statues and piece together our statue, the parts that are broken and missing, and eventually fuse that all together. There's a hope that, who knows, maybe we can even reproduce the statue on some scale at some point, having a 3D model.
And you have these breweries now downtown Wilmington, so that would be, if you get it at the Historical Society and the museum there, it would be kind of a centerpiece almost for what's happening down there. There's like 3 or 4 of them that are popping up, aren't there?
Right. Well, we have Stitch House on Market Street, and over on Miller Road, of course, we have Brew Works, and down at the riverfront, we have Iron Hill. So, and then of course, you have temples of beer like Chelsea Tavern right on Market. So yeah, it's a lot of beer history on Market Street. That whole corridor from
back. What's the place in the back? The Barrel. I haven't been there yet. The Barrel place. Barrel.
Oh, Maker's Alley.
Maker's Alley. Don't they have a beer?
Yeah.
There's a lot of, even if it's not a brewery, there's a lot of selection.
Absolutely.
Of different craft beers.
Sure.
Right?
And I'm still, the statue, we kind of see it as tying everything together, tying it together, the past and the present. So we're looking forward to getting that project done. We're about 20% of the way with fundraising. And this past Saturday, we had our very first Delaware's King Gambrinus Day on April 11th. We had hoped to do it in each of the tap rooms around the state. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we were forced to do it virtually, and we were fortunate enough to have 7 brewers on the line with us. And we did one of these ideas on Restore the King's Facebook page to tell a little bit about what the history of Gambrinus was, who Gambrinus was, and for them to tell us a little bit about what they were doing on King Gambrinus Day, since we weren't able to celebrate in their tap rooms. But the hope is going forward that every April 11th becomes not only a celebration of our project with the King Gambrinus statue, but it's a real day. It is King Gambrinus Day worldwide, but also this day is going to be a celebration of the Delaware craft brew industry. So that's how we see it going forward.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of that on April 11th with some of the brewers on the Facebook Live. It was very interesting, and I really wanted to butt in and just tell them how pissed off I was at them about it. But the bottle has class. I didn't do it.
Of course.
Okay, I just want to let you know I was on. I was there. I was typing in. I really wanted to let them have it.
I saw you.
I expect an apology from them. I expect cash from them. I expect cars and women and everything. I mean, I used to smoke cigars with these guys, play poker with them, and just in back rooms. And that's the way we used to do it with the craft brewers. We had everything. We had the world by the short hairs. But that's all changed now because of the millennials.
Well, yeah, it's changed because of the millennials.
Brewers is prohibition.
Because a lot of other things too. So
yeah, I know. Whatever. That's the political thing, good thing to say. Anyway, so what I wanted to ask you too is, John, is what's next with the brew trails? Now I know there's some really good people. You're going to do some stuff with them too.
Yeah, Joe Conway and I have been kibitzing over the last few days, and we're looking perhaps next week to do something collaboratively to help out the craft beverage industry in Delaware, promote their cause a little bit, at least for the time being, to drive some business their way. So we're hoping to do something much like this on Delaware Brew Trails. So look out for that. If you're not a member of that group, go over to DE Brew Trails on Facebook and join and follow it. And of course, Delaware Beer History, the Facebook group page that I run, I'm sure we'll be promoting it there as well.
Well, John, I want to thank you for coming in, and everybody, please support local breweries. Go online, buy online, go pick the stuff up, or figure out if things change in the next week or two. You never know what's going to happen. Stay posted. Don't just go into some place and pick it up. If you can pick up local stuff at their brewery or something like that, do that. Is that basically what the message is here?
Yeah, pick it up at the brewery for the time being. Sure. If you can try to buy as much local as you can. If you're in a retailer and they don't have it, ask them to get you something from Delaware. Absolutely. Right.
Even though I'm PA, I try to help out the neighborhood.
That's
now,
right.
I wanted to burn down a few neighborhoods a few times, but the bottle, I control myself. I try to help out everybody. I'm very generous. I'm very generous, Bob.
So you're a big fan then of wine and mead and cider and spirits, because they don't come in cans.
Yeah, and then they started putting it in a box, and they started now putting it in cans too, which was like a dagger in my heart, John. I know, and I love all kinds of liquid. But anyway,
as do I.
All right, John, thanks for coming in. John's going to sign off now because I'm going to get into more utter nonsense. And he says, Bottle, I don't want to be part of that. I'm not going to show my face then. Thanks, John.
Thanks for having me, Bottle.
You got it. All right, folks. Bottle's still here, and I'm going to go into Marry, Shag, or Kick to the Curb. That is my segment. And tonight, so people don't know about this segment, it's who would the bottle marry, who would the bottle shag, or who would the bottle kick to the curb if these three, hypothetically speaking, women were presented to him. My three for today, these are called in or standing by the can sometimes, or by different people, is here's the three. Christine O'Donnell. Now, she's the one who ran against Chris Coons locally in Delaware, and she actually took out Castle, who was a longtime congressman. And that's first. Susie Orman. Like, these choices are like, please, people, like, you're killing me here. Or Cher. A lot of people say I look like Cher, like I could be her brother or something. And that's kind of creepy right there. So if I'm going to marry, shag, or kick to the curb, who is it going to be? All right, let me move my finger. I feel like my bottle head's getting cut off. But anyway, so I'm going to tell you first. Let's speak about Christine O'Donnell. All right, says she wasn't a witch. We're not sure if she was. I mean, it's kind of crazy, the whole situation. She didn't get in. Where is she now? Helping out everybody. So she obviously, it was a publicity thing. She was looking for make a name for herself. There's been some shady stuff that's happened with her. How could I ever like marry this woman? It would be a train wreck. First of all, the bottle doesn't marry anyone. And this is a friendship ring for my bottle babes, okay? This represents many bottle babes, okay? So when you see me going like this, say, oh, he's actually married, I'm not, okay? But if I had to, hypothetically speaking, I could never marry Christine O'Donnell because she's just got too much baggage when it comes to like checkered stuff. I mean, I have a checkered past. I've done a lot of crazy things in my life. I've been around since the 15th century. How could I not? I could not do that. So we'll see what we would do with her later. Susie Orman or Cher, marry. I can't think of marrying any of these women. Susie Orman, could you imagine the tight grip she would have on my, you know what? But this person's a control freak and thinks that everybody should be able to save money this way. It's crazy. Susie couldn't do it. Cher, I look like your brother. I look like Cher. That's just crazy. But I probably would marry you because you're probably the least baggage, and that's not saying much. And I just think Susie would just be, I'd have to marry Cher. I'd shag Christine O'Donnell. She's attractive. And I'd throw Susie Orman to the curb quickly. That's my segment for tonight. Please post suggestions or anything if you'd like to hear more of that nonsense. It's kind of gross, actually. We may just cut this one completely off. Okay, we're going to talk about a couple things. Now we have Bernie CANders has endorsed Joe Sixpack to run against the Supreme bottle. Now, if people don't understand this, again, let's think about, are you a bottle or a can? The Supreme bottle is the president. He thinks he's the Supreme bottle because of just the way he operates, his MO. I don't know the guy. I just hear his name come up. I just think he's an imposter trying to be the ultimate bottle, me, giving me a bad name. But he is the ultimate bottle, people say, because you think about bottles, loud, obnoxious, want to take advantage of people, want to just, that's what they do. And Joe Sixpack is a can. He's the other side that's looking out for the people or claims to look out for the people. I don't know. And then this Bernie CANders, kind of a can, he's got a lot of young, idealistic people coming in and, now he's endorsed it. So what I'm trying to tell you, and there's a reason for this, bottle versus can is hitting the road as soon as we get out of this mess. And we are hitting the road alongside of this presidential campaign, because what we're going to show people and these candidates is how to get along. Okay? We got to get along, the bottle and can in the beer world. So why can't you all get along and get things done in the real world? So hopefully we'll bring them, knock some sense into them through the campaign that we're going to run across the country while they do their thing. So that's the reason that we mentioned that. So it's bottle versus can. Folks, we're now going to do a little beer review. We're going to do Love Stout by Yards. They're up in Philly. I didn't want to do it in front of John because, it's not Delaware. And, we want to promote that. And I'm going to do a Philly one now. I live in Pennsylvania. I'm in my bottle lair right now with no bottle babes. And I'm very, very lonely. But they're doing the right thing. They're not bottles behaving badly. I wish those bottle babes would behave badly and come on over. But, this is the bottle life. This is the life I live. I'm an orphan. I'm still an orphan. Been an orphan since the 15th century. And now it's all taken away from me now. Craft brewers putting things in cans. This is what happens to me. And I'm still trying to help out the neighborhood. And a semi-regional, we'll say regional brewer, Yards from Philly. Lovely bottle, just like me. I actually drank out of a can. I drank the Son of Can a few days back by Wilmington Brew Works because I just wanted to help out the can. And I actually drank the whole thing. It was good. So I've got my trusty bottle opener who, if people don't know, haven't seen this, this is sort of my Flavor Flav imitation. Boy! Heavy, 5 pounds. I've hit plenty of husbands and boyfriends over the head of different women that I was running out of their houses or, you know, out of their cars. I just cracked this. And so this is a seductively smooth love stout. And it is 5.5 by alcohol, and it's oh, it's lovely. It's got a great like sort of roast to it. It's got a finish it's very roasty, and it is smooth. I mean, a lot of times you'll get you know, all kinds of crazy tastes from some stouts and things like that. But this Yards is very good. I give it a 3.5 to 4 bottles. Go out and get some if you can, but you may want to go out and get some Delaware beer because John was on here and I'd like to do that. But guess what? PA people, we can't go to Delaware. We might get locked up. You drive into town there and a lot of people are on the edges and they go into Delaware for various reasons and they're getting pulled over. So right now is just not a good time if you're in PA or other parts of the country and you're tuning in to get Delaware beer, even though a lot of our audience is from the area and has access to go in there and do that. So look, fight the boredom, people. Have no fear. The bottle is here. We will get through this and try your Love Stout or Delaware Brews if that's where you are. And stay healthy, stay strong. And when the chips are down, the bottle is around. Good night, folks.